It is no longer possible for me to hide from others.
I come to warn you.
I know. The constable's already sent 2 men down here. Ignorance breeds fear. Why aren't you afraid of me?
We're friends, Willem. You've always been kind to me.
Are you still not afraid of me?
Well, let's just take a quick look at our little Beyond the Limits scene that we created in iClone. First off, you'll notice it was black and white. Now you could easily do that in your nonlinear editing system when you rendered your animation and do that in post. I chose to use the color adjust effect and took the color out, and you can add those directly in iClone, which is a nice effect. We'll go ahead and turn it back off so you can see what it was originally created to look like. Let's turn on a work light here to give us a little more light to our scene, and then we'll just zoom in here and see a general layout of how things are going to play out. Especially, let's look at the lighting and see the effect we did. We only used a couple of spotlights, and basically, obviously, to create shadows and to have maximum control. Those are right here, and let's highlight that. And here it is back here. And here is our spotlight right here. Definitely wanted a shadow as the sliding door opens, so certainly wanted that to be a shadow casting light, and as you can see, creates a nice shadow there on the wall. The only other spotlight was this one right back here, and you can see that one there, and basically that just lights our actress and causes some shadows to fall back on the floor. So those are really the only 2 spotlights. You can see that effect there on the console. Just those 2 lights. Everything else is just a point light, and they just illuminate. They don't cast any shadows, so it certainly doesn't tax the system in any way. But ideal placement is the key, and especially when you want to create shadows, as I definitely wanted to have nice shadows in this particular scene right here. And I did want to see her shadow come across the floor there a little bit too, so let's take a look at that shadow. Let's turn off our work light here, and let's turn it off when I stop. Let's turn it off now. There we go. Now you can see, I think the shadow is even a little better. There we go. Shadow on the wall, shadow across the floor, and now we're picking up our shadow from the other spotlight here, casting back. Okay, so that's basic lighting. We used, as I said, a lot of little point lights around. We have a actual light on the set. I mimicked that particular light with some other lights. Let's turn these off here and just see what effect they are doing. And turn that one on, and can't see that one right now. I think that one is behind the booth, so we'll look on that one later. And there we go, there's one here. Yeah, this one right here is kind of mimicking the light from our work light, actual practical light. And I, of course, cheated it over just a little bit for the shot. Got another point light back here behind our time machine, and it's lighting up the machine and the wall there. And then we have another one here, once again lighting up this side of the machine, creating really no shadows, but creating just illumination on the back wall, and adjusting the height by using our scroll wheel here, creating just the right amount of shadow we want for that particular shot. And once again, I put another little bit of a fill light here to cause a fill light when she walks into the room. And the key is, of course, just positioning those and getting just the right amount of illumination on that. And as our character comes out of the booth, you'll see we have some other lights here, have some light here on the floor. causing a little illumination here and a light up here. Once again, probably working the back wall there, and kind of out of the camera shot, which is fine. So let's remove any animation we may have created. So those are basically just the positioning of our lighting for the shot. One lighting tip that I like to utilize a lot is an adjustment that can be made to pretty much any light, but I like to use it with the point lights. Now I've got a point light here. I'm going to turn it on, and it's mimicking the light that would be coming off of this practical light I have on my set here, this lamp. And we can utilize it, and obviously if we modify it and adjust its range, we can bring up the illumination. But notice that it's lighting up the entire room, and I really don't want to light up the entire room. I just want to light up the area that would kind of be lit by this practical light here. So what I'll do is utilize the multiplier, and I'm going to make it 3 instead of 1. Now obviously it blows everything out, but what I can now do is dial it back, and now it's only going to be casting light in this area right here around the console, and not any longer on the wall. And you can dial that range back now to where it casts an intense light, but in a smaller area or range. So by utilizing the multiplier, we can increase the amount of light in a small area. And that's a thing I like to play with a lot. It really helps, rather than light up the entire room. Okay, something else that helps give us a nice look along with our lighting, and we might not have talked about it before, but is ambient occlusion. And I used it in this scene, and it's maybe a little subtle to see. Let me turn on our work light, and let's go back. I think you can see it begin to happen here on the edges. Creates a nice, mimics fall off of a light, and it gives you a nice little bit of shading, possibly in the corners and on the edges of objects. And basically, you know, I just play with my sliders until I get a look that I think will work. Obviously, you want to make sure it doesn't do anything strange to your actors, but playing with these shading dials and just coming up with something that looks good helps give a nice little subtle touch to the animation, and use it sparingly, but it certainly does, as you can see, really helps back in here in these edges and the corners. Gives it a nice little bit of fall off that really helps the overall look. So play with the ambient occlusion effect. It can be real cool, and I'm just certainly scratching the surface with it here, but it's a real nice touch. Now let's take a look at our set. It's very primitive, very basic. All the props, I'd say 90%, really were made from primitive shapes in iClone. Obviously you can see that the console here is all just very simple shapes. The lamp I did model in another program. You could easily do it in SketchUp, which is free. And the booth, I wanted rounded edges to the door, and that would have been a little harder to mimic in the iClone. So I did model that in another program. Once again, you could easily use SketchUp to create the booth or that type of shape. Very simple. The door to the booth is obviously a separate object, so I could slide it up, and I obviously mimicked that door. I'd basically just copied that door over to the other door, and used it for the entrance to the laboratory as well here. And let's see, there we go. And there it is. Here it is. It just slides off to the side there, you can see. So simple, very basic shapes. The wall here is the typical iClone wall. I had to slap in another rectangle here to make the other bit of wall here, and just kind of stuck them together. You can pretty much see the seam there even. Everything else, once again, just primitive shapes. All the machine here, the levers, are all very simple shapes that are available in iClone. and just sticking them together and slapping a texture on them is all it was. So it's extremely basic, because I'm kind of mimicking the original television show, The Outer Limits, which this scene was kind of taken from. I tweaked it certainly a bit, but as you can see, all the shapes are very, very minimal, and just a few little minimal textures on top of those. And once again, here are the levers. You can see these are very simple, primitive shapes available in iClone. Uh, and I created a little lever, once again, with a cylinder and a cube, and then just did a keyframe there to have the lever move, and then the door opens up at the same time. And they're just keyframes, so they will all happen pretty much together. There we go. Door opens up, lever pulls down, just keyframed for a simple effect. Now, by far the most time-consuming part of this little animation was getting the animation of my actor correct, and especially the actress here and her performance, and blending various movements together to make somewhat realistic performance. So we'll take a look at that. Okay, let's build the basic animation. Now, I've got a very simple avatar here, but it was created in the new character creator, which is a lot of fun. I wanted to create this animation using the motion puppet, but now there are a number of ways you could have created this animation. You could have obviously laid down a path and had her walk the path up to the console and stop, or you could maybe have added a persona to this avatar and clicked and say walk over here, and clicked and make her move from one position to another. I chose to do it this way to build the animation in place and then use the key transform to move the avatar where I wanted to move it. So a lot of different ways to do it. This may not be the best, but it's the way I chose to do this animation. So first we needed to create a walk. So use the motion puppet and found a basic walk. And let's see, there's a basic walk. Now I didn't want her walking real confident, so I wanted to change the position of the way she walks and the speed she walks. So let's play with that and kind of get the right speed. A little bit of stooped action, lean forward, lower the hips a little bit. Basically just play with these moves, controls, until you get the kind of right move you want. And we can add some keyframes. I wanted her hands kind of raised, so we might add some keyframes to create an apprehensive look as she walks in the room. So basically we've got that walk. Now, so all I did was just record plenty of that, so I have enough of the walk to move from outside the door to the console, and just record plenty. The beauty of it is we don't see where she comes from particularly, so you can position her as far away as you need and then have her end up in the location you need for her to stop. So that's probably enough right there. So we will hit space bar and stop the recording there. And then I need an idle position. So let's just find the basic idle position here, like so, and probably once again not a lot of exaggeration there, and we can once again adjust a few things like you want. And notice that hand movement, we will erase that once we record it. So just tweak these to get the right body position that you want. And once you've got it, then just go ahead, and I just went ahead and recorded plenty of that. So I've got enough of the standing there. And of course you can repeat these animation clips. Now once again, we don't really need that arm movement there, and we can cut that out. So and let's just go ahead and stop there. Should be enough. And Another move we're going to need is her frightened mood. So let's go here and look. We have a surprised pose here. That's pretty good. We have this one here. There we go. That might work better. So let's go ahead and record that. And probably just leave it as is. And I'm just going to go ahead and record that particular motion puppet move. And once again, we can position it and trim out what we need. And so there we go. There's that one. Okay. So now let's close this out and take a look at what we've got in the timeline for this particular character. And as we look down here, we can see, I'm going to hold down the control, the Alt key, and position the timeline where we can see things. So we've got 3 clips here. And let's go ahead and close this up here. Give us a little more room to see what we're doing. And here we are. So we've got our walking position. We've got pose, standing idle, and then the shocked expression, which once again we will adjust. We can just slide that out of the way for now. Once again, we were going to clip out that hand motion for this particular, so let's go ahead and find that spot right there and right click on the clip and do a break. And you know, we probably don't need any more of this because once again we can repeat this clip right here, but I'll go ahead and break it there and then we'll just delete that. So now we've got some clips we can play with here. Now once again she, of course, is going to walk and then stop. We want that transition to be as smooth as possible, so we'll butt these clips together. We'll adjust that ease in time, and there we go, like that. So that eased in pretty nicely. We can tweak that, of course, some more, but that will work fine. Another way to get these clips to ease in and out is to select them all. I've double-clicked on the timeline here, and then I'm going to right-click, and then we're going to do the transition curve, ease in, ease out. And that'll also help smooth things out, like so. Okay, very good. So that's basically that. Also, I wanted a little bit of hand movement while she's talking. So let's go ahead and add some more of this. Not that we'll need it, but just in case, because what's going to happen, it'll overwrite. When we add the hand movement from the motion puppet, it'll overwrite this clip and create a new clip. So let's go back to motion puppet. And let's close this out to give us a little more real estate. And character is still selected. And let's go down to talking position. And let's find a talking motion. Probably too much. Once again, speed's not going to be an exaggeration. We want that. Okay. Don't necessarily want both hands. Kind of like that, but I'm only going to use like her left hand, let's say. Let's clear that, and like so. Okay, very good. All right, let's go ahead now and double check our audio, because we still have our audio clip, and just so you know, we added an audio clip here. Crank this up so we can hear. Okay, we have the David McCollum character. He's in the scene here and he's playing his audio. Let's go ahead and add her audio. And I'm going to go back to the very beginning. And if you want to add audio, which is a WAV file in this case, create script, WAV file, and then female limits. Now, I recorded this track from the video, the Outer Limits TV show. Recorded this little piece, which is 50 seconds or so long. I took that piece into my nonlinear editor, chopped out just his part, David's part, and the female character's part. Made sure that these are the same length as this master track, so it'll edit very easily when I get it to my editor. But let me go ahead and choose that one. We'll add that to hers now, and we'll let that play.
No longer possible for
Okay,
me
he
to hide
speaks.
from others.
She needs to be standing.
I
Okay,
know. The
there's her
constable
part there.
already sent.
So let's take a look now at where we want to adjust that. And let's just take this and let's look at the is me, and there we are. And now we'll scroll that, and there's her audio track.
No longer possible for me to hide from others.
Okay, so she needs to be stopped walking pretty much by this point in time. And so what I'm going to do is just clip this off. And let's just break that in the walk and delete that. Slide her idle pose up.
No longer possible for me to hide from others.
Okay, she stops there. And we might want her to stop a little sooner, because he starts speaking and then she will speak.
No longer possible for me to hide from others.
Let's make it a little more.
No longer possible for me to hide from others.
Okay, I come to warn you is probably where I would like to have that hand motion. So let's go over to Motion Puppet, and let me clear that out, Motion Puppet, and let's go back to this particular move. Okay, let's adjust that, take the speed down, the exaggeration down. Let's clear everything except her left arm.
I know.
Come to warn you, and let's take that speed down.
I know. I know.
Okay, let's back that up a little bit.
From others. I know.
Okay, and once again, we'll be able to
I know.
tweak the position. Okay, that. So let's go ahead and record that a little bit.
I know. The constable's already sent 2 men down here.
Okay, now let's go back and take a look at that in the timeline. And there we are. And let's try to get a little more room here if we can, so we can see kind of what's going on. There we go. Okay, right there.
Hide from others.
Okay, like so. And once again, adjust the ease in. And once again, I'm going to select all the clips by double-clicking on that track and then doing ease in, ease out.
No longer possible for me to hide from others. I know. The constable's already sent 2 men down here.
Okay, that's good. Now let's select this idle pose. Now we've got a little idle here, and we've got a little idle here. We can select either one. I'm going to hold down the control key and drag that out, and it creates a duplicate of that idle. And so let's then adjust the ease in a little bit and slide that over.
Oh, the constable's already sent 2 men down here. Ignorance breeds fear.
There we go. So, okay, once again, you see her hand is colliding with the skirt there. We can adjust that with a few keyframes added into the motion layer track, and that'll take care of that little issue as well.
Already sent 2 men down here. Ignorance breeds fear.
Okay, she's staying idle.
Why aren't you afraid of me?
Friends with him. You've always been kind to me.
Okay, once again, we'll add a little more of the hand movement there. So let's do that. We can either repeat that, or we can use the 2-hand motion, so which might be nice.
Why aren't you afraid of me?
Friends with him.
So right there, let's go now and give some more room here. And okay, reset, you'll notice there. So let's take that speed down, exaggeration down.
Friends with him. You've always been kind to me.
Okay, I'm your friend.
Friends with him. You've always been kind to me.
Okay, like so. So let's go ahead and record that. And once again, we'll adjust it to where we need to position.
Friends with him. You've always been kind to me.
Okay, got that. Now let's go back and take a look at that.
Friends with him.
Okay, once again, we will adjust that ease in. Once again, let me just right-click on that clip and do an ease in, ease out.
Are you afraid of me?
Friends with him.
Okay, it's a little quick on that. Let's make sure it's snugged up nice.
Afraid of me.
Friends, Willem. You've always been kind to me.
There we go. Once again, you can tweak that. And if you want a little more time, we can drag this out. Notice we have selected here the speed, clip speed, and we can drag it out and it'll slow down the action.
Afraid of me.
Friends, Willem. You've always been kind to me.
There we go. That's kind of nice. And then we will once again let her go back to the idle pose. And there's a little more of the idle clip. Okay, and now he's walking out. And this will be in the fright pose. Let's see if we can find the fright pose. Is that it? There it is right there. Okay, let's slide that up. And once again, we might want to trim it. Okay, let's just say, maybe not. Let's just, I added the scream was another sound effect that I added for her. I don't have that added yet, but once he said, let's find his line.
Are you still not afraid of me?
Right there is where she's going to scream. There we go. Right there.
Are you still not afraid of me?
Okay, like so.
Are you still not afraid of me?
There we go. Okay, so that's basically the motions there. Once again, we wanted to add a few keyframes. We want to fix this little problem here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's do some adjustment here with the hands. And we will need to reveal the motion layer here. So there we are, motion layer. And let's open that up a little bit. And there's our motion layer. And let's go down to the edit motion layer. And once again, what I wanted was a little bit of an apprehensive move to her hands. So her hands are kind of up a little bit as she walks into the room. A little unsure, a little apprehensive. So added a keyframe there. So once again, it's a little bit of a movement there, just to, and then of course we can have her looking around. We can adjust that head position.
No longer possible for me.
Okay, and right there we probably want her. I'm going to add a keyframe just by double clicking here.
So possible for me to hide.
Let's go ahead and hit the reset. So now
No longer possible for
her
me
hands
to
are
hide
lower.
from others.
And then of course right there we've got a little problem with the arms. So let's bring them out a little bit so the hands won't necessarily collide. Really don't see the other side, so I'm not too worried about that. But here we go. Just make sure it didn't add a double keyframe. Sometimes it likes to do that.
No longer possible for me to hide from others.
I come to warn you.
I know.
Okay, once again, let's ease in a little bit some of those movements to
Hide
smooth
from
it.
others.
I come to warn you.
I know. The constable's already sent 2 men down here. Ignorance breeds fear.
Okay.
But
All right. So a little basic move there, little change, nothing big, but adds another little touch that you might want to play with. So let's adjust that. Let's take that out now, and let's work on another section. Okay, now let's work on our positioning of our character. We wanted her obviously to walk into the room. So I'm going to bring up the wall here and the console. I'll put over here. There we go. And so let's see how we can get her to move into this position from here to there. And basically what I'm going to do is just use the transform key. So we've got our transform key is always started at the beginning, is always automatically added. And then she's going to stop, as I said, right along in here when she says her line.
possible for me to hide from others.
There, she's going to walk
No longer possible.
and walk there. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring up our gizmo here. If we can see the gizmo, it's a little small there on the screen. Sorry about that. And so let's come into here and let's just see how much foot sliding we're going to have to deal with. Not too bad. Seen certainly worse, and I've done worse. Okay, we got a little problem there at the end, of course. And so definitely slides into place there, which is not good. So let's slide this back. Okay, once again, select that. Okay, not too bad. Get it long in there. I think it's pretty good. You can possibly tweak with it some more.
No longer possible for me to hide from others.
So just by using the transform key, we've basically been able to allow her to move from point A to point B. And without too much foot sliding there. Once again, I would suggest you add some looking around. So I added some more keyframes for the head to be looking around the room. And once again, we do that the same way we did those other keyframes in the motion layer. So you could add those, and that would definitely help. But that's basically how you're going to get your character from point A to point B with this method. Certainly not, as I said, the perfect method, but I think it'll work pretty good, and it worked pretty good for this particular little sequence. Now, something else you're probably going to want to do is give your avatar some expression when they're talking, and you can do that with the face puppet. And I'm going to choose Natalie. And let's see, I think there is a sad expression here that might work. And okay, not a lot going on there. So once again, you can select other components of the face. And so when they're talking, you can give them some expression. So let's try to play that. Let's hit record.
It's no longer possible for me to hide from others. I know. The constable's already sent through.
And by moving the puppet, moving the mouse.
Why aren't you afraid of me?
Friends, William. You've always been kind
So
to
create
me.
those eyebrows and create a warm expression there. So by tweaking certain parts of the face and by moving the mouse as you're playing back your animation, you can create a little more expression, which will be very helpful, I think, in giving your avatar a little more life. Now, one thing we're going to want to do is create that scared expression, and I think that's right here. And let's take a look at that. Okay, that's nice. Not getting a lot of movement out of the mouth, but I'm going to do the mouth. Of course, you can dial in greater degrees of adjustment by bringing up this particular folder here, and this panel lets you give a little more weighting to certain parts of the face. So just simply by typing in a bigger number there, we can create more wrinkle in the nose, let's say, or moving the jaw up and down. So you can tweak elements that way, which is really nice. But what I'm probably going to do is create a little bit of expression for the whenever she sees the creature. And there we go, like so. Like so. And then I'm going to move the mouth separately. So let's play that.
You're still not afraid.
Okay, we got the jaws going up like so. But now let's play that back and add the mouth adjustment, and that'll be in the separate solo feature. Like so, and I might want to give these muscles a little tweak too. Here we go. You can turn on and off certain muscles groups by selecting them here. So let's record.
Still not afraid.
And I'll add the scream as a WAV file. So once again, you can add and detract. If you don't like them, you can change them. Once you create those expressions, they become animation clips, and you can tweak them back and forth wherever they need to be positioned. So that'll help.
Ignorant breeds fear. Why aren't you afraid of me?
Friends, William. You've always been kind to me.
Okay. So I think that'll give the performance a little more believability. Okay, I guess the only thing we haven't talked about are the cameras. And used about 10 or 11 cameras in various positions to film this scene. Let's take a look up here. You can see them scattered about the room. Let me turn them off now so we can go through a couple of our shots. And they were very basic shots. We have this shot here as actress comes into the room, and like so. And kept the cameras kind of static, not a lot of movement, to kind of mimic the television show. We do a little bit of a tracking shot with this particular shot, where the camera tracks our actress as she walks in. Try to keep the movement minimal, just to create the mood. This has a slight dolly to it. So typically what I do is render each scene, each camera as a separate video clip, and then edit all those together in your nonlinear software. That gives you the most control, but I went ahead and did a switched version using the built-in iClone camera switcher, which is a lot of fun. And you can see the switcher down here and the various cameras. And obviously all you do is just click on that switcher timeline and right here, and it'll bring up. Let's see if I can tear this off here and we'll see what it does. I'll right click on that, and then you just pick from your camera list whichever camera you want to be utilized at that given moment in time, and then you just kind of work your way on down, and as you can see it will cut as you're playing along. And that's a fun way to do it. You'll really have, of course, more control with a nonlinear editor and rendering each shot and then editing them like you want when you get all your sound effects and music together. But this works fine. It's a lot of fun to create a switched version. So that's what we did with the cameras. So hopefully that gave you some ideas on how to create a simple scene using iClone. I'm sure you can improve on them and do a much better job than I did. So see you next time.